Srimad Bhagavatam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitam Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyabhadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Vishnupadaya Acharya Singha Rupine Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshava Iti Namine Pati Marta Charitraya Swasritam Chapanine Jive Dukhe Sadartaya Srinamo Prema Daine Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamine Sri Varshabhana Videvi Dvaitaya Kripabdhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Nama Madhurujvala Pramadhya Sri Rupanuga Bhaktida Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastute Namaste Gauravani Sri Murtaye Dinatarine Rup Anuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagumurtaye Vipralambhara Sambodhi Padam Bhujayate Namah Namo Bhakti Vinodayo Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupayo Rupanugo Varayate Gauravir Bhadbhumistang Nirdishta Sajjana Priya Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Sri Jagannathayate Nama Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaudathishe He Krishna Karunar Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayata Surato Pangur Mamo Mandamate Gati Vatsarvasya Padam Bhojao Radha Madan Mohana Divyat Brindaran Kalpudrumad Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanastri Sri Sri Radha Srila Govinda Deva Preshtalibhi Sevyamana Smarami Sriman Rasurasarambi Bangshivata Tatastita Karshan Venukshanai Gopi Gopinatha Shri Estuna Vrindavai Tulasi Devai Priya Vikeshavasya Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Sattvatai Namo Namah Panchatatmatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Hare Ram
Hare Ram Ram Ram
Ram
Hare Hare
Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayam Udirayet
Tato Jaya Mudirayet
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavate Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Nayastaki.
Let us offer our most humble obeisances at the lotus feet of Paramahamsa Chudamani Srila Shukdev Goswami, Srila Sutta Goswami, Srila Parikshit Maharaj, Srila Vyasadeva, Srila Narad Muni, Chaturmukh Brahmaji. Let us also offer our most humble obeisances at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and all his eternal associates, beginning with the Pandavas and Bhismadeva. Let us offer our most humble respects to the King of all scriptures, Sri Srimad Bhagavatam. May they all bless us so that we are able to take to heart these wonderful pastimes and instructions and remain fixed and enthusiastic in devotional service. So we are reading from Canto 1, Chapter 9, Text 20. Bhishma's passing away. Bhishma's passing away. Jam
Yam
manyase
Manyase
matuleyam.
Matuleyam
Jam manyase matuleyam.
Yam Manyase Matuleyam
Priyam
Priyam
mitram
Mitram
suhritamam.
Surittamam
Priyam mitram suhritamam.
Priyam Mitram Surittamam
Akaro
Akaro
sachivam
Sachivam
dutam.
Dutam
Akaraho sachivam dutam
Akaraho Sachivam Dutam
sohridad
Sohradat
atha sarathim.
Sarathim
Sohridad atha sarathim Yam manyase matuleyam
Yammanyase matuleyam
priyam mitram suhittamam
priyam mitram suhittam
akaraho sachivam dutam
akaroho sachivam bhutam
sahridadatha sarathim
Purita tata sarathim
yam manyase matuleyam
Yam
Yam
manyase matuleyam
priyam mitram suhittamam
priyam
priyam
mitram suhrittamam
akaraho sachivam dutam
akaroho
akaroho
sachivam
sachivam
bhutam
dutam
Sauhridadatha sarathim
shohridadatha sarathim
yam manyase matuleyam
Yam
yam manyase matuleyam
priyam mitram suhittamam
priyam mitram suhrittamam
akaraho sachivam dutam
akaroho sachivam dutam
sauhridadatha sarathim.
shohridadatha sarathim.
Read please.
Translate Yam, the person. Manyase, you think. Matuleyam, maternal cousin. Priyam, very. Dear, very dear. Mitram, friend. Suritamam, ardent. Well-wisher. Akaroho, executed. Sachivam, counsel. Dutam, messenger. Suritat, by good will. Ata, thereupon. Sarathim, character. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. O King, that personality whom, out of ignorance only, you thought to be your maternal cousin, your very dear friend, well-wisher, counselor, messenger, benefactor, etc., is that very personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna, although acting as the cousin, brother, friend, well-wisher, counselor, messenger, benefactor, etc., of the Pandavas, was still the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Out of his causeless mercy and favor upon his unalloyed devotees, he accepts all kinds of service, but that does not mean that he has changed his position as the absolute person. To think of him as an ordinary man is the grossest type of ignorance.
Yamam manyase matuleyam priyam mitram suhittamam akaraho sachivam dutam sohridad atha sarathim. O King, that personality whom, out of ignorance only, you thought to be your maternal cousin, your very dear friend, well-wisher, counselor, messenger, benefactor, etc., is that very personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So all these different roles Krishna did play, did take in this whole Mahabharata in relation to Yudhishthir Maharaj. Maternal cousin from the mother's side, cousin from the mother's side. How is that? Kunti Devi was a Bhoja, and she was also related to Devaki. So in that sense, then there is a dear friend. Krishna was a very dear friend of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Of course, especially Arjuna was his dearest friend. But even with Yudhishthira Maharaj, there was very nice friendship. Well-wisher. There was always, in every advice that he gave, and at every critical moment that you required his help, all his advice was always wishing well for the Pandavas. Counselor, messenger, he, for example, took the message of peace from Yudhishthira Maharaj's side to Dhritarashtra. He was a messenger, benefactor. So Bhismadeva is saying that, oh Yudhishthira, O king, out of ignorance only. Actually, this ignorance was due to the arrangement of Yogamaya. Because unless there was this ignorance of Krishna's actual position in regards to his relationship with Yudhishthira Maharaj, then Yudhishthira Maharaj would never accept Krishna's respect, obeisances, touching his feet. When Krishna touched Yudhishthira Maharaj's feet, he never objected. But that's the way it had to be, because every action of the Supreme Lord is a great lesson for us. Lesson for us. Because the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is the perfect personality. In every action, in every single word that he spoke, it was absolute and perfect. There was absolutely no mistake. The mistake, if anybody would say, some of these foolish commentators and so-called the so-called the learned scholars, they made such comments. But in actuality, it was not so. The Supreme Lord, in all his activities, was the absolute personality. Srila Prabhupada is putting it. Was still the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Absolute personality. But when the Lord advents, which is the material world, although the Lord himself claims that he comes to vanquish the demoniac forces and protect to the devotees, pious, and re-establish the principles of religiosity, they are not, in effect, the primary reason for his advent. It is a general statement, so that people in general can understand that the Supreme Lord alone is the one who inaugurates the religious principles of that particular age. It is the Supreme Lord who keeps his promise by protecting his devotees. It is the Supreme Lord who vanquishes the evil forces. So all this is actually very easy to see. One doesn't need a great intellect to see that when Krishna is killing the demons, when Krishna is protecting Arjuna and others, he doesn't also see when Krishna is speaking the Bhagavad Gita, laying down the principles of religion. So these are very easy for anyone, little intelligence, to understand, yes, that is true. These are the three criterion through which the Lord appears. But these are just on the surface. This is the surface. In the surface of his activities, these three factors can be very prominently, but beyond that, underneath it, so to speak, in the subterranean flow of wisdom and knowledge, there are so many other more important factors. More important factors. Now, Bhismadeva is telling Yudhishthira Maharaj, out of your ignorance. Here, out of your ignorance does not mean that you do not know or do not possess the knowledge to differentiate and discriminate between illusion and reality. That you do not know that the Supreme Personality of the Lord God is a person. And so many others. That is not his ignorance. The actual ignorance, if at all it may be termed like that, is the fact that Yudhishthira Maharaj is ignorant about the truth, that he is being simply like a marionette, being made to dance according to the desire of Yoga Maya. Out of ignorance. Because if he was not ignorant of this fact, then he would all the time see Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that would spoil the entire Leela. It spoiled the entire Leela. Because it was the desire of Krishna that Yoga Maya arranges things in such a manner that he himself will forget he is the Supreme Lord. So this ignorance should not be equated with the ignorance that we, the conditioned souls, suffer from. Or the ignorance that Krishna talks about the demoniac. Avajananti mam mudha manusim tamun asritam param bhavajananta mama bhutam maheshwaram. Krishna is saying that Avajananti mam mudha. Mudha means rascal. Prabhupada would translate mudha as rascal. Avajananti mam mudha. The rascals, they do not know that when I appear in the human form, manusim tanum asritam, param bhavajananta, they do not know my transcendental nature and position, mama bhuta maheshwaram, that I am the controller of the entire manifestation, material manifestation. So that is actually ignorance. But Yudhishthira Maharaj was not actually suffering from that kind of ignorance. Because Bhismadeva also was suffering from this kind of ignorance that he is talking to Yudhishthira Maharaj about. He also did not know. Otherwise, he would have never taken the sides with Dhritarashtra. However, although he took sides with Dhritarashtra out of a sense of loyalty, it's a Kshatriya and Kshatriyas tradition. Kshatriyas are very proud of keeping their honor. So therefore he fought against the Pandavas, against Krishna. So he himself was also a victim, if one might say, a very glorious, glad, blissful victim, completely on the transcendental platform. I mean, if it was so easy, in effect it is easy if one has the Shraddha, the faith, to accept that all the activities of Krishna are transcendental. Be it his birth pastimes, be it his marriage pastimes, be it his fighting for the Pandavas. In any one of these instances, all his actions are transcendental. So thus, in the 4th chapter of Gita, Krishna is saying that Janma karma chaume divyam evam javetti tatvataha tvaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam iti o Arjuna. Arjun, if one understands that my birth, pastime, and all the other activities that I have performed and are fully transcendental, not at all has any affinity to mundane activities, then upon leaving his body, Arjun, he will certainly come to me. So, these may be apparent contradictions. On one hand, Yudhishthira Maharaj was not able to see that these are transcendental pastimes, that they were actually fully transcendental. But he was not able to realize it in that manner, because if he realized it, then there would be what is known as rasabhas. It's all about rasa. Krishna's pastimes percolates different rasas in the hearts of his devotees. Different rasas, not the same rasa. There are these 5 rasas, main rasas, and 7 subordinate rasas. All these rasas are revved up, percolated into the heart of the devotee, and that is what their great relish is about. And the devotees are enjoying with Krishna. Krishna is enjoying in the spiritual world. Krishna doesn't have to do any work. Natasam karjam karananchata vidyate. Krishna has nothing to do, no work to do. Natasya karjam karananchata. No activities. He doesn't have to do any activities, any work which is bound to. No. So Krishna is all the time. Lilaitena is constantly engaged in. What is Leela? Leela is the drama which unfolds, bringing up onto the surface the hidden rasas for the devotees and Krishna both to relish. So here Bhismadeva is saying, not for Yudhishthira Maharaj. Yudhishthira Maharaj knows by now. But he is saying for our sake. Bhismadeva is telling Yudhishthira Maharaj for our sake that Krishna can be all these things. That Krishna is in love with his devotee. There's nothing that Krishna would spare to please his devotee. Do anything. However, foolish people may think that he is not the Supreme Personality. And they may think that actually Krishna is like a human being, only he has some extraordinary qualities, like so many yogis. So many yogis have extraordinary qualities. So Krishna is one of them. But he cannot be God. How can he be God? God is the creator of this entire universe. The God had existed all the time and will continue to exist. All these attributes that belong to God. Aisha Justice, Samagrasa, Justice to be justice, real Jnana Vairagya. Aisha Justice, Samagras. Samagras means all these qualities, the 6 qualities, in full. Samagra, in full. Krishna possesses these, at least 6 qualities in full. Aisha Justice, Samagrasa. So, he has these qualities. And yet, due to Krishna's greed for relishing rasa, he ignores these qualities in him because they create aparasa, it is called. Aparasa. If the Pandavas would know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he was acting as their friend, they would never accept. Krishna would never sleep with him in the same bed, just, eat together, go on, never do such things. And in fact, just to give us a blick, a vision into this Arjuna's mind after he sees the universal form. He wakes up, oh, what have I been doing, Krishna? You are this, Param Brahma, Param Dham, Pavitram, Paramam Idam. You are this personality. And I have been taking so, oh, please forgive me. Please forgive me for all my offenses at your lotus feet. See, that is known as aparas. Arjuna is a friend. A friend never begs forgiveness for his. Never. I mean, If there's some mistake, but a friend are on equal terms. So what if the one friend has made mistake? That doesn't matter. The equality in position does not change just because one person has made a mistake. And we know. And when we are playing together with friends, we may make mistakes. But that doesn't mean the position of friendship changes. So how did this happen? After Arjuna saw this universal form, immediately, Param Brahma Param Dham Pavitram Paramavidam. And it is not me who is only saying it, Krishna. Ahuste Rishaya Sarve. Other rishis are saying, who? Asita Devala, Vyasa. Such divine personalities, great rishis, they are saying that. I'm not the only one who's saying that. So you are all this, and I never even recognized this. So Arjuna was repenting, but that is upon us. Amongst friendship, there is no such thing. All on equal terms. Krishna, to think of him as an ordinary man is the grossest type of ignorance. That's how Prabhupada concludes this purport, saying that although he may be acting as a human being, Manushya Leela, he is in fact completely transcendental, and anyone who knows that, who realizes that, will never take birth again in this material world. That is how powerful this knowledge is, this realization is. You go to the next verse. Sarvatmanaha samadrisho hi advayasyano hankritre ahankrite tatkritam mati vaishamyam niravadasya nakvachit. Sarva Atma, one who is present in everyone's heart. Samadrishaha, of one who is equally kind to one and all. He is certainly Advayasya, of the Absolute. Ahankritehe, free from all material identity of false ego. Tatkritam, everything done by him. Mati, consciousness. Vaishamyam, differentiation. Niravadasya, Niravadyasya, freed from all attachment. No, never. Kvachit, at any stage. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Being the absolute personality of Godhead, he is present in everyone's heart. He is equally kind to everyone, and he is free from the false ego of differentiation. Therefore, whatever he does is free from material inebriety. He is equibalanced. Purport. Being absolute, there is nothing different from him. He is Kaivalya. There is nothing except himself. Everything and everyone is the manifestation of his energy. And thus he is present everywhere by his energy. Being non-different from it, he is present everywhere by his energy, being non-different from it. The sun is identified with every inch of the sun. Sorry. The sun is identified with every inch of the sun rays and every molecular particle of the rays. Similarly, the Lord is distributed by his different energies. He is Paramatma, the Super Soul, present in everyone as a supreme guidance, and therefore he is already the chariot driver and counsel of all living entities. When he therefore exhibits himself as chariot driver of Arjuna, there is no change in his exalted position. It is the power of devotional service only that demonstrates him as the chariot driver or the messenger. Since he has nothing to do with the material conception of life, because his absolute spiritual identity, there is for him no superior or inferior action. Being the absolute personality of Godhead, he has no false ego. And so, he does not identify himself with anything different from him. The material conception of ego is equivalence in him. He does not feel, therefore, inferior by becoming the chariot driver of his pure devotee. It is the glory of the pure devotee only that he can bring about service from the affectionate Lord. It's not that Krishna serves his devotees by force. Never. When Duryodhana from Hastinapur came to Dwaraka, he arrived just a little ahead of Arjuna. So they greeted each other. Arjuna came and they all, both of them, went to Krishna's chambers. He was taking a rest. Seeing that, Duryodhana went immediately and stood next to his head, where he was resting. And Arjuna remained at the lotus feet, below, standing with folded hands. So, and it came to pass that if anyone wants to have me, Krishna says, then he must have me without an army and without any weapon, because I will not take up any weapon. So Krishna was not forcing Arjuna to take him, but Krishna. But Arjuna was so happy. Oh, Krishna, please come. And Arjuna felt no qualms. If Arjuna at that moment would have thought, oh, it's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the entire creation, everything is simply his, then he would never have asked him to become his charioteer. So Krishna offers his service with humility. You can't serve unless you are humble. And the first thing is we have to develop the attitude of service. And this attitude of service means to serve everyone. Those who are beginners and those who are very proud of themselves, false ego, they will choose who to serve. Because they are thinking that if I serve someone below my standard, then people will make fun of me, mock me. So I have to be very careful in choosing who I have to serve. But Krishna doesn't care. As long as he can serve. And he doesn't demand. Krishna is teaching us that if you demand, then that is the wrong attitude. Then with that attitude, your service can never please and satisfy the object of your service. So, humility is the main criteria for rendering proper service. Therefore, when Arjuna asked Krishna, you please drive my chariot. Krishna said, look, I will drive, but I will not be able to take up any arms in your favor and fight. Arjuna said, no, I don't want, I want only you. Arjuna was clever. A pure devotee never loses. After all, although a pure devotee in enacting and assisting and taking part in the pastimes of the Lord has to take up different roles, but he never loses his qualities. That he doesn't lose. His qualities will always remain intact. Because the unfolding of Krishna's pastimes, Krishna would like to have certain actions according to the situation, which may demand Krishna to be very much subservient. But Krishna has absolutely no qualms, absolutely no feeling of insult, shame, because just in executing devotional service to the Guru and Spirit and the Supreme Lord and the Vaishnavas, one should become completely free from all shame. There's no shame in rendering service, any kind of service. And that is Krishna is showing that. Service to a Vaishnava, pure devotee, of any kind, is of the highest elevated standard. Whereas service in the material world, even to a king, is a position where the king may sometimes shout at you, correct you, shame you in front of so many others. And you have to swallow everything. So this is the difference between material service, mundane, and transcendental spiritual service. So here he's saying, being the absolute personality of Godhead, he is present in everyone's heart. So he is equally kind to everyone and is free from false ego of differentiation. This has to go together. He is equal to everyone and therefore he is free from false ego. Because false ego makes differentiation. And therefore he cannot be equally disposed to everyone. So these are the different wonderful transcendental characteristics of Krishna. Questions?
Hare Krishna.
Haribol?
In this verse's purport, it is mentioned that because he is absolute, there is nothing different from him. He is Kaivalya, there is nothing except himself. What is the meaning of this? Kaivalya is generally associated with merging with the Supreme.
Yes, but it comes from the root word kevala. Alone. Keval means only, alone. So Kaivalya means you lose your identity and become one. That's why it's called Kaivalya. But Kaivalya comes from the root word Kevala, which means only.
So it means merging with the Supreme. That means
but this Kevala has nothing to do with that.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So when Krishna so desires, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Srila Prabhupada blesses us, we shall get to hear Harikatha very soon again. I thank all of you for your patient hearing and beg forgiveness for all the mistakes I have committed. Let us once again offer our most humble obeisances at the lotus feet of Srila Sukadev Goswami, Srila Sutta Goswami, Srila Parikshit Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, Vyasdev Ji, Narad Ji, Brahma Ji, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna and his all eternal associates, beginning with the Pandavas and Bhismadeva. Let us also offer our most humble respects to the King of all Scriptures, Sri Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.